Eren, might as well introduce yourself. Like, what do you do? Everything, like.
So currently I run a website design agency, so it's for small businesses. So what we really want to do is get every small business online. So we make one-page websites starting from 99p. It's 99pwebsites.com. And yeah, our main mission is to get everyone online, whether it be a trade or an independent business.
So like, what made you like want to start this, and like, how long have you been doing it?
Yeah, so before there used to be a demand for website design agencies, but really there's a new market now, and it's all about mass design. Small businesses live on the online world now. 75% of people will check if a business has an online presence before going to them for any kind of service or good. So we really want to tap into that market, and we sort of found an attraction point with 99p because when someone hears it, it can typically spark some interest, enabling them to check out the website and hopefully convert into a customer.
That's good. So like, you said that like you really wanted to, like, something really attracted you to that market and stuff like that. Was like there anything that like triggered you to be like, oh my gosh, like this is what we have to do? Like,
so before I used to also run a different digital marketing agency. It's very competitive. It's a very competitive market. So we used to do social media management. We used to do website design, the whole nine.
Yeah.
But we had a team for that, and back then we didn't actually have any kind of budget or any kind of sort of fund to help us market our own marketing agency. So it was very tough. So now we've decided that a sort of mass market approach might be better for us, especially now that we've got a marketing fund as well. So I got a little bit of a fund from an investor who gave me a grant just to help me out, to start a little business and hopefully pass that on to the next person if it's successful. So yeah, really that's why we went for a more mass market, new, innovative market where we saw a need.
Yeah, exactly. Because I suppose like you can never like second guess anything that's going to happen in this climate, especially. Yeah, everything fully changes.
Every market is competitive right now. Yeah,
right. I can imagine. But like you're young, you're 19, so like what is it now that like keeps you like so motivated and wanting to do this?
Well, I'm 17. Just left. I left school after GCSEs.
17. We for me to shame.
Thanks. No, shame. I left school after GCSEs because I really just, this is where my passion was, and especially since I got the grant from my investor, I knew he would want me to focus on it more than go to school and do it as a side thing.
So you said you left after 17. So like in school and stuff, were you always like so driven minded? Like was like your circle of friends the same as you, or were you kind of just like to yourself a bit more and doing your own thing? Like,
so it was all about doing my own thing. So entrepreneurship sounds very cool from the outside. It's nothing like that. Just to let you know now.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was all about doing my own thing and being my own boss and all that stuff at the start, and making money.
Yeah,
but it's not like that. So I started out with a new innovative tea product that I brought from Germany to bring it to this market. To sum it up, it was a horrible failure.
What made you say that?
So it didn't really get anywhere. We went to multiple buyers, Tesco, etc.
Yeah.
Tried to approach them, but they simply didn't like the product.
Yeah.
And it was my first sort of actual, venture. So I didn't know anything about buyers or business or, how to sell a product to anyone. So it was all about, driving that to market. But it wasn't a failure in the sense that the skills I gained just from selling tea, something someone might laugh at, was phenomenal. So I started that when I was 15. It would involve me going out, just literally going directly to hotels, trying to sell them the product, cold Christmas days. It's not very nice. And the rejection you take is unbelievable because every single hotel I went to, every single market I went to, I simply got either ignored or just straight out no. But I can say the skills I've learned, like contract writing, dealing with overseas suppliers and customers, shipping out, invoicing, all of that stuff really builds up onto your character, and you can really transfer
Most
that.
definitely.
Yeah, I don't regret it at all, even though I I lost some money.
Yeah, of
but
course.
that money is much more valuable than if I had spent it on a textbook or a course.
Yeah.
It wasn't wasted at all.
No, that's perfect. That's like, it's weird because like you say like how at 15 and stuff like this, you're approaching big brands at like Tesco and things like that. At 15, was like I'm trying to think like what I was doing. It's just like how motivated you were at such a young age. Like that's what really like strikes me. Like you're very different to like a huge batch of young people like today, which is good for your age, and you can only improve from there. So like as I said, what kept you motivated through all the rejection and things like that? Because I know it's quite hard to bounce back from a lot of no's.
Yeah, nothing's going to keep you motivated always. I can honestly say, after about my first few tries, I went down for like days and weeks. It's not happening.
Yeah.
I'm done. But I knew that eventually you'll just get to a point where you get this burst of motivation all of a sudden, and that's not a good thing at all, because it's only going to last about an hour. But I saw the situation my dad was in throughout his whole life. So he's worked for some not very nice bosses.
Yeah.
And I knew I had to sort of pick myself up. I knew there was always going to be this kind of rejection. And yeah, that's motivation wise. You don't need an end goal, but you need to sort of have a vision of where you want this business to be, or where you want to be personally, because once you've got that figured out, it's a much smoother process from there.
That's cool. So like you said about your dad and stuff, like your family, like they must like be very proud like what you're doing. Like how do they support you or anything, like with all your ideas, like from the very beginning, like from the tea to your now?
So well, in terms of support, there's not always support. Actually, it can sometimes be negative.
Towards
you.
Parents.
It's always going to be the closest people to you that are going to let you down the most. I'll tell you that from now. It's not because they don't they're trying to put you down or anything like that. It's just that sort of psychologically it's their first I need to protect my son, and he needs to go this route. So you need to be able to take that and actually turn it into some kind of motivation yourself. If you can't do that, then just let go of it now. But there have been times of support, like when I wanted to leave school, etc. Yes, that's as far as I can say about that. Yeah.
I feel like the thing with like what I get from like parents is that because of like how things were back when they were younger and stuff, like they've lived life. They haven't lived life fully already, but it's like they've seen like the journeys and stuff that they could go on and stuff, and like back then it didn't work for them. But obviously because we want to try it now, they think, oh no, like, oh, we did that, it didn't work. But what they don't really grasp is that times have changed, and like not everything that they wanted to do that they failed in, we all fail in. So it's like they just want us to stay on that straight and narrow, where it's like,
obviously if the opportunity isn't right, it's good to see I should let this go now as soon as possible, which I've done on multiple projects. But sometimes it's not the problem with the opportunity. The problem is with how you're executing it, or how you see it. The perspective you see it in is always different. So it's always good to go the full mile, even if you're not doing well. If it's been months past and not one customer, there may be something you're doing wrong rather than the project.
That is very insightful. That's actually mad when you actually think about it, because there's certain things that you always feel like, nah, it's not me. Like my plans will improve. But then stuff happens and you change and you realize. But like with risk and stuff like that, I find it hard. Like obviously I would love to take risks and stuff like that, but I find it hard. How do you calculate like certain risks and like when to take it, or do you just jump in and take that leap of faith?
So I guess it would apply to what kind of risks you would refer to. So do you mean business risks?
Yeah, business risks.
Okay. So if you first got to assess like what resources you're putting into this and what skills and knowledge you've already acquired. So for example, if I'm going to gamble £100,000 into a design company, but I have no skills in design, not a very good gamble. But if you're going to put £10,000 into a web design business, and I have the full skills, it might be a better gamble. And it's also about your network. So that's very important as well. Building up your network is the most important thing I can advise anyone. Because you can know someone at Parliament right now, and that next NHS contract, you have a really good chance of getting in front of the right person. However, someone at the very bottom who might have a 10 times better product than you can't get in front of an NHS contract just because they don't know the right people. The UK is very the same to other countries. We work here with connections. It's not corruption. It's just how it is. It's just fortunately how it works in the current climate, and we should change that. But unfortunately, it's traditional. It's how it is right now. Yeah.
So like, how did you? I'm guessing you have like a network of people you work with. How did that first start? Like,
so well, first of all, it started because I was at Business Awards, and I won an award, and it was for a young entrepreneur award. It was for my tea business that I first started. And I met my mentor there, who worked for a company in partnership with Canary Wharf Group, and he sort of guided me through various projects. He luckily didn't give up on me after all of that trying and failing, and still trying and failing. So getting a mentor is very key, because it's someone that can guide you, but it's not someone you should expect to pick you up. So you need to do that part yourself.
Yeah, of course.
But once you can always give yourself some breaks. Once you've picked yourself back up, they can always help you with connections, introductions, and if you're maybe a little shy, they can help you build up that confidence. So mentorship is very important, because they've gone and done it. And generally, mentors have their own mentors who have their mentors, because it's just based on the industry you're trying to get into. So let's say I'm trying to get into property. I would advise you to go on LinkedIn, because it's one of the most powerful tools in this day and age, and people are, especially young people, aren't utilizing it. So if you use LinkedIn, you could type, property sourcer, for example, if that's what you're looking for. If that's the sort of, it might not be a business, maybe a job. If that's what you're going for. You might want to speak to someone who's already in the field, because you don't know if you're going to like it. You're going to pursue it for the next few years. You want to talk to someone. You can reach out to 100 people. One of them are bound to give you a coffee. They're bound to give you an hour. And that's how you can get into contact with people from Mayfair if you're in East London. You can make that link.
That's true. So like, with your whole network and things like that, like, what's a day in the life of like a fully working day, like for your web design business? Like, what happens? Like,
so right now it's mostly just getting up early in the morning, getting straight onto the laptop, which isn't always the best thing to do for most people, because it's not, let's say, the healthiest. But unfortunately, that's how it has to be with all the busyness right now. Especially when you're starting up, marketing is the key thing, because no one's going to come to you. That's something people have to understand. If you're selling socks, people aren't just going to rush at your socks. You're going to have to go out there and sell it. And that's the hardest part, because even if you're offering something completely free, getting someone to come and like sign up, to your form, that is you're going to spend money, and it's still not going to work, all the time. So it's definitely just me fulfilling the orders, keep my customers happy, and going out, marketing it. But as I said, it's not always good to keep that routine. So what I'm doing is I'm also working with BLP, Business Launchpad, in helping some other young people, because that enables me to get out of the house 1 to 2 days a week. So it also broadens my network more locally, because I've got a network more in London rather than local. And so I would advise you take up some kind of other occupation or a hobby, maybe learn some coding, on the side when you're doing your thing. Because if you keep sticking to it 15, 16 hours a day, you're going to get bored of it very quickly. And you're going to throw it away. I'm
guessing that's why you enjoy what you do so much, because you're not sticking just to that, like, for the whole day. You're going to find your love for it some sort of way. But like you say, your connections is more London based than home. So like, what's the difference in like just the people around, like in home to here? Like, what makes you just be like, nah, London's where it's at?
Well, with the current project, our aim is to help small businesses. And if with my connections, it's more they're connected to the higher ups, so like the large organizations.
Yeah.
And what I really need is to get into contact with. So I've figured out my target market. It's some going to be like tradespeople, from plumbers, etc., or maybe like barbers or solicitors or something like that.
Yeah.
And if in order to be in contact with those people, for example, there's so many of these mass web design agencies that person, if I knew them, personally from my network, they would come to me over anyone else, because that's just how it works. It's referral has 50% conversion. So if I go to Facebook ads, to Bing ads, which I'm doing right now, I'm not converting even 0.5%. But through referrals, when someone you trust tells the next person, it's almost guaranteed business, because there's a need for it. It needs to be done there and then, and you get a direct referral from a trusted person. Yeah. So
I'm about to do that, because that's like me with some of these guys back there. Like, that's how like just birth so much like new things. Like me last year, like you last year, like would you have seen yourself doing like half the things like that you've moved on to this year and things like that? Like my next thing, like with your planning and stuff, because you seem like like you're very calculated with like what your moves from what I'm gathering so far. Like, so when you started to now, like what was like some of like the brief plans for like different ideas you had for your web design like business?
Yeah, well, do you mean when I started the web design business?
The web design business first, like that's the main one that was you're doing now.
So, well, we only launched a few weeks ago, so I'm going to give it very brief. So my plan was we're going to get some subscribers on our 99p plan, display some ads, and hopefully build up get them to convert to our more paying plans. Unfortunately, it didn't work out like that, because that's business. It goes topsy-turvy. So we've started to offer free for 3 months for small businesses. It's also a good way for them to trust us as it's a new business and new in the market compared to our competitors. Yeah, of course. And we're willing to do that for free for 3 months and convert them onto the pay plans.
So what's like your short-term goal for this so far? So in about 2 years' time, where do you want to see yourself there?
Yeah. So hopefully we'll have a large client base that we're serving constantly, and I'm hoping to grow it into more of a sort of consultancy type. So we're going to help them with a web page, sure, but we also want to help them with growth in terms of as a small business. We want to help them with their growth, planning, business planning, marketing planning. So I hope to help them with their whole online presence rather than just the website.
And then say jump forward a bit, like 5 years. What's next?
5 years, yeah. So I don't usually plan that far out for my businesses, because if you do, planning is very good. Yeah. But if you do too intense planning, then when you don't see those results and for those milestones you set,
you get disheartened.
You get exactly. You get demotivated. But hopefully there should be an exit plan in 3 years, and we can sell off the business, use the money into another project. Yeah.
A lot of your goals are like business based, like, but for yourself, like as a person, like what skills what do you want to gain from like this, like whether it's more networking or like putting your foot in other doors and things like that? Like what do you want to see yourself, like how do you want to see yourself improve along these years?
Yep. So I've gained a lot of skills which I cannot list because even if you fail at something, you learn stuff that you wouldn't be able to learn from textbook. Honestly, I'm not just saying that, it's like that. But as a person, I would really like to be able to closely analyze small businesses, because not small business but any business, because I hope to become more of a consultancy and help out businesses and entrepreneurs where I can, both in terms of funding and in terms of growth. So that's where I want to be personally. That's
good. So I've seen like you brought your friend / business partner. Like, what's your connection like with each other? Like, how did you meet and how did it turn into like going into this together?
So we met at school. So I didn't know him till like about year 10. And me and him and 3 others, we started our own web design and marketing agency, so separate to this. This was full web design agency. We started that with no funding or no budget at all.
Yeah.
So it was obviously very tough marketing. So we have to go out every day, straight to businesses, tell them what we do, and all that stuff. And cannot say it was a success. Yeah. But again, I think I've really improved their confidence. So now when they walk in and, they can straight up, they can attack, if that makes sense. So rather than staying on the sidelines and, thinking, maybe I shouldn't go for it because it's not a conventional thing to do, they'll attack straight for the opportunity. And in terms of business knowledge, I think they've, really loved that.
So like, say you're me and you like now like best friends, which could happen. Like in the sense that if I want to be an entrepreneur like you, like what are your 5 main like rules for entrepreneurship? Like, what would you say? Like, do this, and then I promise you, in time, you will get the success or like the desires that you want.
Okay. First of all, I wouldn't promise any of that. That's impossible to promise. Firstly, I would say don't call yourself an entrepreneur because I don't call myself an entrepreneur, honestly, because I'm not there yet. And I think it's if someone else calls you an entrepreneur, that's really when you're an entrepreneur, sort of. Secondly, I would say always have sort of a side thing to what you're doing. Don't stay hyper-focused on it. I know it's good to say, I'm working on it 12, 13, 14 hours a day. Yeah. But you'll get demotivated in a couple of weeks compared to if you just spend a few hours, you'll be on it for months. Yeah. So always have something you're doing, if it's basketball, if it's, whatever it is. Yeah. Thirdly, I would say grow your network, obviously. That's, in fact, I should have put that on first because that's the most important thing. So your network can get you into anywhere that might be locked, typically. And okay, I'm going to add to that fourthly, which is try not to go too much into networking events. Yeah. Because honestly, I think it's a waste of time, depending on which one you're going to. Because people like typically go to networking events. You can go to events and network with people. Typical events because they're going to be people. But if you go to networking events, the only people that you're going to meet there are people with no network who are trying to network with people. At the end of the day, number 5 I would put in as always keep yourself surrounded with the right people. Well, that's not always going to apply because, as I said, people close to you will always generally, put you down. So throughout, I've had, really good friends of mine that all of a sudden, just because have a little bit of, success sort of, they'll immediately try and poison that and, say, just act weird around you, if that makes sense.
Especially in today's society, a lot of people that want to be around you don't really want to see you.
I don't understand that. I'm no different to the next person, especially because I'm coming from a pretty deprived area. I mean, Barking and Dagenham isn't a rich area or anything like that. I'm no different to the next person. I have no resources. I had no resources, at least. I had no network. I knew no one. But I put myself out there, and there's no reason the next person couldn't put themselves out there as well. Anyone can. Build up the skills as long as you have that sort of spark and that sort of hunger, if that makes sense. Then there's no need to put anyone else down. In fact, putting people up will put them on your radar as a sort of viable person. So if I come up with an opportunity, or someone like says to me, "Oh, Eren, there's this opportunity if you're interested," and I say, "You know what? It's not very interesting to me, but let me refer you to my friend." Yeah, there you go. That's how you build up.